We're really delighted to welcome back some friends from Nashville, Tennessee, with her band, Erin Ray.
Let's talk until there's no hard feelings and quit before they come to bite.
I am addicted. I accept it. I'm not addicted to anything else. I don't do drugs and I don't smoke or anything like that. But if I haven't seen a live band for a few weeks, I do get withdrawal symptoms and I start to feel a bit twitchy and weird. And I need to come somewhere like this, Parish Hall, for example, and hear some band rocking out.
The leaves have changed and we're together again.
Okay, so this is the hallowed stage of the Twyford Parish Hall, where we've been putting on shows for probably nearly 40 years.
Let's go downtown.
In the last year we've had Chuck Prophet has played on the stage, Robin Hitchcock, who originally comes from Winchester, came back and did a very emotional homecoming show here only a couple of months ago. There are artists who always come back and stay with us, who will always do a show for us. The most obvious example is Richmond Fontaine and the Delines. They should be playing much bigger places.
Let it get loose and easy.
But they consider themselves as part of our family.
I mean, I think Oliver's probably been like a home to orphan bands for, I don't know how long he's been doing it, 20 years. Most bands you ever meet on the road have stayed at Oliver's.
I guess I first met Oliver in Winchester when I was just doing gigs at the railway, open mic night, things like that. And he was booking gigs, and I feel like probably it was one of his gigs that was the first ever sort of gig I did. I think that's really important to have promoters that are making the effort to get foreign acts in or just out of town acts in, and then hooking them up with local artists. He's always just been really good at that, just spotting good bands and putting them together.
You guys ready?
I feel ready.
You look ready. Okay.
If he hasn't got room in his roster, he will give you tips and names.
Okay, cool.
Because Germany is the way you guys need to
Yeah.
be going, I'm sure.
Yeah. I need a better booker all the way around.
Sharp as a knife. I grew up tall and I grew up strong. I grew up just to prove them all wrong.
If you're going to book somebody to play a music venue, you have to find the venue, you've got to pay for it, you've got to do all the advertising, and you probably need to get quite a lot of people in there because of all the overhead. If you just want somebody to come and play in your front room, which is what a house concert is, it actually works better from a financial basis. My aim is not to pay myself, because I do it for selfish reasons. I want cool people to come and play in my cottage. So I give 100% of the income to the artist, which was much more than they would get if I was putting it on in a venue where I have to have all the costs, because there are no costs here. If anybody says to you, oh, you know, where I live there's no music to go and see, say, well, that's no excuse. If you want to have music to see, just put music on.
Bring me peaches in the morning, and I'll eat them in the sun. Make the best of what I have before this day's done. Things are pretty good right now, but they were better way back when.
I don't really listen to music on CD or on my phone or anything like that, because I'm a live music fan. I would hate to be part of the music industry because it's just a nasty, hard-nosed, difficult, industry. We do it because we love the music.
Just a little girl down in your arms.
I'm almost like a groupie. I do get a massive buzz from being involved in the music industry. You get backstage passes and things, and you could hang out. You didn't really hang out with the bands, but you were kind of on the edge. You felt you were slightly part of it. Being part of it is what's such fun.
I've always liked loud rock music, basically, and it just gives me a buzz. You get a kind of adrenaline rush. So that's why, even when I'm not putting the show on in the local venues, I'll still be there listening to somebody else's show. Nothing can replace the feel of a live gig. I mean, some of my friends spent the whole of last weekend watching Glastonbury on television. Well, I never watch Glastonbury on television because no matter how good the quality of your equipment, it doesn't reproduce the sound and doesn't reproduce the feel of being in that crowd. And so it just doesn't interest me at all. Rachel, well, it's been a while since I've seen you. I've been putting together this book for celebrating 40 years of live music at the railway.
Amazing.
I know. And you've been a strong part of that, as I discovered.
My memories are very much about the open mic night and the really, really solid, important friendships that I made through that. So Kate Stables, Rosie Plain and Sam Layden, who ran the open mic night. So that was a life-changing thing for me.
I was 11, I think, yes. I made my own little newspaper for the village where I lived. The way it was financed, it was 1 penny a read, so we only made one copy, but we took it around to people's houses and left it with them for a couple of days, and they paid a penny, and they would read it, and then we'd collect it and then take it on to another house later. I wrote a book about the Joiners Arms in Southampton, which is one of the UK's premier small music venues. Part of what they call the toilet circuit. People who've played there, Coldplay, Primal Scream, Manic Street Preachers, Green Day, and goodness knows how many other people. Venues like that, and the railway, as we know, they operate on a very, very low budget, and they have great difficulty surviving. Now, motivating people is incredibly difficult.
Good things are on their way for you, and if
And that's one of the main reasons live music is in its difficult situation, or at the grassroots level, is because people now have this gigantic choice of entertainment.
good things are on their way for you.
No matter what age people are, it's very tempting for them to stay at home and watch their devices. I feel absolutely desperate about it because it's like a whole way of life that's beginning to die off.
Thank you.
I was asleep. I woke up to the sound of it. Sashing down the hall. And it's a secret, yeah, how precious life. Terrified of it all.
But what got you into the idea of even promoting shows or being involved?
And if you go back to the early sort of beat group era bands that I loved, I would draw pictures of them in their their tight trousers and their stack-heeled boots and their beautiful hair and things like that. But it might be just pure chance that I did get involved in those very first weeks at university in the nuts and bolts of it, and that's what intrigued me. I started writing in my first year at university in 1967 for the university magazine. So I interviewed Fairport Convention, Pink Floyd, T-Rex, Joe Cocker, and Free.
All these the greatest guitar rock band on this side of the
in history.
Wow.
And all these bands were coming and playing small time gigs because I was lucky enough to grow up in this incredible era when the great
rock and roll was alive.
Yeah, but it was just kicking off. It was all very lucky. Nowadays I write for the odd music magazine, but over the years I've just written constantly. Here's an example, John. Look, this is the latest one. I used to work for the Glastonbury Festival paper, and it was incredible fun. This was all done live on site in Glastonbury in a porter cabin. And then this is the stuff that I was doing constantly. I was writing for a blues magazine here. I wrote for several local newspapers. The rock column in the local Hampshire Chronicle I did for 21 years. And I still write for them now, actually.
I was in Egypt.
Lost when I played the hand.
I used to write for a paper called Record Mirror, and then at the same day Sounds came out, Melody Maker came out, NME came out. Sometimes I go and buy all four of them.
Do you feel that that's changed a lot since you began doing it?
Oh God, yeah. Well, the music papers have all gone. Nowadays, all the day-to-day buzz of something new is on the internet.
That's it.
Which I don't relate to really in the same way at all.
I wonder if the internet relates to us in the same way that or anyone really in the way that something that's considered and it's created. I mean, I think these things honor, the thing that you've experienced, and so a tweet doesn't necessarily,
See no reason to ever think of you.
The first show I ever put on in my life.
Well, at the University of East Anglia was.
Oh right, okay.
Fairport Convention. Let's talk about this because I do think it's funny, and I think there's really something that any artist that intends to work with you in the future could glean. There's something to be taken from this. That could potentially be the first show that they've ever played as Pink Floyd, really. As the Pink Floyd that we know.
Yeah, but that's not something that I should be boasting about because, I was there and I was helping out, but it was part of a committee that put that together.
And that's what I mean is that, I agree. I know, but I know what you mean, but you're always going to do that, aren't you?
Yeah, but the whole point of the book, the whole point of the volume was that I've never done anything in my life that's been extremely successful. I've had a lot of wonderful times and, really...
John Parish.
I didn't do it. It's exactly the same with you. I'm hoping that you're going to be a megastar and I'll be able to boast about it when I'm in my 80s. But...
And you can say that you did. With me, would you do it?
I didn't do it.
Would you? Oh my
but
God!
What I did was I maybe had some small part in facilitating
You've had a huge part in anything that, and just not in multiple ways, but like that is goofy. We were opening for Richmond Fontaine on a tour, and Oliver, he interviewed me the next morning, and Bob Frank as well. His real passion about music and his insistence that good music be promoted, or what he considers to be good music, that it's all so much for the love of it that we became friends to the point of him being, and I really mean this, a surrogate father to me. I've not really had family in the way that most people have, and I was adopted, so the adopted family that I had, it's just Oliver's more family to me than family.
Hall nominated for Traditional Roots Album of the Year for by appointment or chance?
And I recorded it actually in England, in a tiny village.
Tell us about wanting to do that.
Well, I cat sat at this house in a little village in England, and the 4th year I did it, I just thought this is a perfect opportunity. They have a beautiful little spot in the back garden down into this tiny little village. We won the pub quiz, and we made an album, so it's great to be here.
And PJ Harvey, The Cavity,
Yes,
Bridgeport, the best night of my life.
It was the best night of my life because it was my family. We were all together. Birgit, Annabelle, Lucy and I all went to that gig. And there was only room for about 20 people in the room. We were just given this unbelievable privilege of seeing what was to become a gigantic star playing in a tiny little
When this is all happening.
wine bar.
I'd already sent the message out to everybody else, explaining exactly what to do, and this guy's putting together the last moment.
I was here once when there were, I want to say there were 2 shows in at least 3 acts one day.
Yes.
4, if not, there were 4.
Yeah.
And it was, people were coming
And
and going,
yeah,
and
that's
some
right.
people were staying.
Yes.
It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot to manage when you're at your own home.
It is.
And I've always admired that. I mean, you've opened your doors to everyone, you know.
Yes, and we've made some lifelong friends.
And they've made lifelong friends too, like.
Which has been a wonderful thing. It's definitely been life enhancing.
Oh, I'm lucky. Don't feel like knocking on heaven's door. I'm like, I think I'm the one that's not. I know what the key is.
Yeah. So look, you may think that this is my shed for my record collection, but now it's become the shed for your gear. So there's flight cases, there's guitars, there's pedals, there's guitar stands. Anyway, don't worry, everything's safe and sound here. And
Everything's
you can take
safe.
it home one day. And if not, when I die, you can come and clear out the shed.
Look at that. Oh,
There we go. Am I worried about the railway? Yes, always, permanently. As long as I've been there, it's been in danger of closing. The problem with the railway and with most music venues is it's owned by a brewery. They're very, they can change their minds at the drop of a hat. Each landlord, they've all been very dedicated, but at the end of their lease, they have to renegotiate it somehow. If the beer prices go up, they won't be able to make it work. So it could close down at any moment, and yeah, maybe that would be a good time for me to bow out, I don't know. He's done the cover, although I don't want it to be focused on me, just like you don't want it to be focused on you. So I've asked him to remove that and put the web address on the railway.
Okay.
Johnny Borrell, Gold Blade. This is one I took of Arthur Brown.
The Arthur Brown show.
God of Hellfire. And then it pretty much goes straight into the history of the railway, which I've been researching at the records office.
Or
This
you
is my
started to-
favourite of the.
Right,
Of,
is this the one with the road name changes?
no, this is the one where there's nothing here at all, and this is what's now St Paul's Hill. So the railway's here. So in due course you can read through all this, but it's quite interesting. And then here is where it finally got converted into
That's the original plans. I think I've got a copy of these.
what's called the club room, which is now the attic. We now come on to the music, and basically explains that it started out as a folk club with something called the Third World Blues Club. And then there's sections on the people like Ian McLagan and Andy Fraser, Ginger Baker. I put them legends. There's old Imelda May doing a selfie with someone in the front bar, and Ian McLagan
He
as
still
he
comes
did.
in from time to
Does he? Holding court.
UK sub show, I think he might have been last week.
I can see your tracks, but I won't fall down. I'll just hope for rain, some kind of crazy wind to erase them.
Dear Robin Hitchcock, who played here in 1975, he claims, in the folk club. He's done like a whole page of very interesting stuff. And the most recent person to go on to stardom from the Railways, Kate Stables, of course, who started out at Roots Night. So it's all very heartwarming, really.
I mean, I think from quite a young age, I sort of quietly hoped that I would be able to do music as a big part of my life. I don't know if it would have happened if it hadn't been for the railway, because playing live is the only way you can really know what you're getting into. You can't just sort of read a book on it.
Say the magic words, say the magic words, say the magic spell. Go on, say the magic words, the magic spell, say the magic words, say the magic spell.
So that's 200 copies, is it? Oh! Look at, I mean, I can't believe it. It looks like Farmers Weekly or something. Are you happy with it? Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, this has exceeded all expectations. Right. Thank you, sir. You've been a very good pal for so many years. All the artists that have come to this area in the last 20 years, and I'm talking about Americana style, none of them would have been here if we hadn't put them on. I put them on, as I said to you a moment ago, I'm addicted to live music. If I want live music, I've got to do it because nobody else will do it. Yes, they're here. When they first came here, she was 17, he was about 12. But now they're back and they're almost 20. All the way from Saskatoon, Casey and Clayton.
The table
I do think that we discovered Americana before anybody else did, because at the moment it's the cool thing to talk about. But Richard and I started putting on those shows 15 years ago or more. That's something that I'm happy with, because a lot of the artists that we put on then and have gone on to become much more recognised.
Well, like
so
This Is the Kit.
Kind of, for example, This Is the Kit is a great example.
Keep your thoughts to yourself and you'll be fine. Don't let them circulate away. Tell the people what they want to hear, and you'll always have the right thing to say.
If people say to me, how come you put on such relatively well-known bands? And the answer is years and years and years and years of gradually building up links with people. PJ Harvey, it's just I had this personal connection, although I don't really know her as a person very well at all. I know a lot of people around her, and I've been completely fascinated to follow her from that first day when she turned up at the railway just as a rhythm guitarist in another band, and now she's a worldwide superstar and one of the greatest artists that's ever lived, in my opinion. I've been going to see her since round about, I guess, 1982, I think, probably, where her first band was around. They didn't have any money at the time, so I put their album out. At the time I was running a business and I had some spare money, so I paid for their album to be released. Then, of course, they all went on to enormous success, and I couldn't be happier, because they're extraordinarily imaginative musicians. Well, I sometimes wish that I'd been able to do it as an actual profession, but then I look around at people, people who, for example, were full-time music journalists. A lot of them got involved in drugs or what have you. It's a pretty kind of seedy lifestyle. Writing about music from an amateur point of view and promoting as a kind of very small-time promoter where the thing's very personal, those two things have been tremendously rewarding in a kind of emotional way. Creativity and the actual personal relationships involved in the music making are something I'm very interested in.
It's not the industry, but it's the squabbles over this or that. I don't want anything getting in the way of rock and roll. He remembers that he said to Sandy Denny, I think if you continue to smoke cigarettes, it might hurt your voice. And she cussed him out. But it's those stories that are at the heart of rock and roll. And Oliver is right in the middle of it, and he doesn't know it, and he'll never know it. He has no perspective on it, and I just love it.
Just because they got away with it doesn't mean to say that we will too. Probably the opposite, in fact. Probably the opposite, in fact. Probably the opposite is true.
This is where I always bring my American rock and rollers and Canadians, because they tend to spend a lot of their time travelling around Europe, staying in travel lodges and not really seeing very much of the real countryside. So we always come down here, and what we do is I teach them the game of poo sticks, which comes from the poo books from A.A. Milne, and we line up here. They tend to be sort of dressed in Stetsons and boots and things. Well, you have to imagine 5 or 6 people lined up here, ready for the start of the race. You hold your stick out, and then I say 1, 2, 3, drop, and then you see what happens. 1, 2, 3, drop, and then you have to rush and wait for the stick to emerge. There it is, and so I have won this race, but in actual fact, I was the only person in the race.
What did you please it us to? What did you please?